Yes, morning, sir.
Morning. Nur Hazirah.
Morning, Doctor.
Morning. Yuni Zaratika.
Saya, Doktor.
Okay, thank you. Ahmad Taufik. Chong Hong Yan.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning. Nur Mariam.
Ada, selamat pagi, Doctor.
Selamat pagi. Lau Wing Yi.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Siti Nur Asiyah. Ti King King. Hello, Ti King King. Siti Rabiatu.
Yes, Doctor. Morning.
Morning. Chang Yu Yuan.
Morning, doctor.
Morning. Lim Yi Ying. Nur Alia Nabila.
Yes, good morning, Doctor.
Okay, morning. Nur Alia Nabila. Nur Mahira.
Ya, Doktor. Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi. Nur Ain Syafiqah.
Good morning, Doctor.
Morning.
Ada.
Okay. Ong Yu Hui. Ong Yu Hui.
Morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Nur Hafizah.
Morning, Doctor.
Morning. Amirul Hazim. Just saya ulang lagi sekali. Nur Fakira ada.
Yes, saya, Doctor.
Okay. Maisarah.
Ya, saya.
Okay. Tan Showe.
Yes, Doktor.
Okay, thank you. Nur Ijati.
Saya, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Nurul Najwa. Ahmad Nasharuddin. Ahmad Taufik. Siti Nur Ashia.
Saya, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Ti King King. Nur Alia Nabila. And lastly, Amirul Azim. Okay, hari ini kita akan belajar new topic. Dia call linear regression. This one the last topic. Then this topic is very related to your individual assignment. Okay, Ahmad Nasharuddin. Ahmad Nasharuddin. Ada Ahmad Nasharuddin. Ahmad Nasharuddin. Okay, we learned about the correlation and linear regression. Then in the last topic, what is regression and linear regression? This one is about relationship between our IV, independent variable, and dependent variable. I mean, we have the group data of X and we have the group data of Y. So relationship between X of the group data and Y of group data is measured by correlation and linear regression. It means relationship between both. I mean, in case we study about our the time of study, example, we want to our research topic about time of study and relationship with CGPA performance. So whether they have relationship or not, we use the correlation and linear regression. Okay, in this topic that we learn what is the independent and dependent variable. Okay? Dependent and independent variable. So that means the group of X and group of Y lah. Dependent usually we call Y and dependent variable is X. That means we have two type of group. We call X or Y, other else we call independent variable or dependent variable. In the research, usually we call independent variable or dependent variable. But in mathematics, we call X or Y. Usually it's same. So this one we will study, we will learn about the correlation of coefficient. I mean, what is a relationship? It's measured by small r. So this small r they call correlation of coefficient. So that means we have two variables. Then we do the regression analysis. Then we interpret the result. What is a regression analysis? Then we will study the slope by the model. Then we regression equation. So then we study about the coefficient of determination, or we call R square. So R square, R power by 2, they call coefficient of correlation. Then lastly, we do comparison between interpret of confidence and the prediction interval. We use whether it's confidence interval or prediction interval to interpret our model fit. Okay, then we go for first definition. So, what is dependent and what is independent variable? We learn about these two terms. Dependent variable, they call variable being predicted or estimated. Independent variable provide the basic for estimation. It is the predictor variable. So they mean here, in other words, you say we have the IV here. Then they go for DV. DV they mean dependent variable. IV independent variable. They mean in other words, bagi kita faham, DV adalah outcome. What we do the research, we need to outcome. Then it's outcome. They call dependent variable. Other else, they say the variable to be predicted or estimated. Ini terminologi dia. Kalau you tengok terminologi dia, you agak confused dan sukar nak faham. Kita nak bagi bahasa linear, bahasa yang mudah faham. DV, that mean dependent variable, adalah kita punya outcome. Kita punya result. Okay. IV ni maksudnya kita punya item to support the outcome. What the contents, what the item to support the outcome. Okay. This one, the meaning of dependent variable and independent variable. So I give an example. CGPA result. CGPA result. In case you want to outcome to improve CGPA result as a DV. So now, what contribution, what is the item that support the CGPA? Boleh saya tanya Nurul Natasha? Okay, untuk support kita punya CGPA, to improve kita punya CGPA, what item yang relevan? CGPA, you punya result lah. Kita nak improve you punya result, apa yang perlu buat? CGPA tu, apa yang kena buat? Apa yang kena buat? Pertama sekali, maksud saya kalau you sekarang CGPA berapa? Sekarang. Ya. To improve your, yalah. So how to do? Macam mana nak buat? Kalau you nak score na exam, how to do? So I tulis tadi time of study kan? Okay, one variable at time of study. Okay, thank you. Okay, bermaksud di sini, bila kita nak improve kita punya CGPA, apa yang kita perlu buat adalah kita kena increase kita punya time of study. This one they call IV. Because this item, they will contribute to improving the CGPA. Lagi, maybe we have refer to many books. Okay? We refer to textbook, we refer to others that are relevant to our topic. We have multi-source about our resources. This one also another ID. That means how kita kena improve CGPA, then what we need to do. The item what we need to do, the call ID. In your research also, that means your individual assignment, what is your aim? You nak study on what area? Yeah. Example. So now, first in the correlation, we learn about scatter diagram. Okay. What is scatter diagram? Scatter diagram like this. This one they call scatter diagram. So scatter diagram, they have two variables. Okay. They call variable here, they call still call and coefficient. Okay. So saya boleh minta Tan Syahway hello Tan. Ain Nur Zuhaida.
Saya Doktor.
Boleh baca slide ni, slide number 04.
Boleh? The sales manager of Copier Sales of America, which has a large sales force throughout the United States and Canada, wants to determine whether there is a relationship between the number of sales calls made in a month and the number of copiers sold at time. The manager selects a random sample of 10 representatives and determines the number of sales calls each representative made last month and the number of copiers sold.
Okay, thank you. So that means we have the data. We have the data saying number of sale call and we have the number of copies sold. Then we have the about 10 representatives, 10 people. So we have the data of 10 people, 10 representative, number of sale call and number of copies sold. We have two data. From these two data, we develop the scatter diagram. This scatter diagram. So how we develop, we see the point here. Kita tengok point here. So, kita tengok point here. Tom Hiller, nama dia. So here point here, number of call 20 and copy also 30. So this data we represent to the dot. Here 20, number of cell call is 20 and cell is coefficient is 30. So here is dot here. Okay. Then the next we see 40 and 60. So we go for the 40 and 60 is dot here. So each data we represent to the dot. Okay. So at the end they become like this lah. Okay. You see here become like this. Represent all the data. They mean 10%. So this one the scatter. Kita see the pattern we call scatter diagram. Okay. So what is scatter diagram? Because scatter diagram they want to know the relationship between number of call and number of sold. So this one relationship they call coefficient of correlation or they call small r. Small r then represent coefficient of correlation. The coefficient of correlation is measure of the strength of the relationship between two variables. Okay. That means small r they measure the strength and relationship of two variables. Okay. So this r value they come from plus minus 1. Okay. Dia tak boleh lebih pada situ. Dia only the range between plus minus 1.0. Okay. Then they have the symbol minus here and plus here. The minus symbol they mean the weak. Okay, they mean the inverse relationship. Yeah. Okay. Inverse relationship. In case they have the minus, so the plus they call direct relationship. In case we get the r value minus, then this mean the inverse relationship. In case we get the r value is plus in front, di depan dia, then the mean of direct relationship. This one definition by the symbol. Okay, then they have the value 0 to 1. Okay, what is the value? In this graph, in this slide, they show to you what is positive correlation. Okay, this one we call positive correlation. In case our data, our dot become like this, it will become like this. So this one they call positive correlation. In case our data become like this, okay, so this one they call negative correlation. They mean we see the pattern, whether they become like this or positive or like this, they call negative. So now we return back to slide number 4. Okay, we look this pattern. So can we ask Nur Alia Natasha?
Yes, Doktor.
Okay, kita lihat this pattern. This pattern adalah positif or negatif? Cuba tengok
Positif.
sini. Positif. Cuba kita tengok pada slide semua. Kalau bentuk macam ni is positif. Bentuk macam ni adalah negatif. Kalau slide ni, this one is what? Lebih kurang.
Lebih kurang macam positif.
Okay, good. So here we see is positive. positive relationship. Positive relationship bermaksudnya bila satu tu meningkat, satu lagi akan meningkat. Dia akan meningkat dua-dua. Bila group A meningkat, group B juga meningkat. Bila group Y meningkat, group Z meningkat. Dan sebagainya. This one they call positive. Okay, this one they indicate the value. Tadi kita belajar value dia adalah daripada 0 until 1. Jadi plus minus 1 lah. Jadi minus or plus. So 0 indicate what? 0 indicate no correlation. In case we have the R value, R value equals 0. It means result is no correlation. There are no correlation between X and Y or A and B. So in case how we get plus 1, here plus 1, plus 1 indicate the perfect positive correlation. In case R equal to 1.0. Okay. So how about R.05? So boleh tanya Nurul Ain.
Yeah.
So what happen in case we get R equal to 0.5? Kita dapat value dia macam ni. So what is the interpretation?
Moderate positive correlation.
Good. So they mean indicate moderate positive correlation. Okay, thank you, Ain. So now in case we got R equal to minus 1.0. So we asking Nur Izzati. Nur Izzati ada?
Yeah.
Okay, Nur Izzati, what happened when we get R equal to minus 1.0?
Perfect negative correlation.
Okay, good. This means indicate perfect negative correlation. So thank you, Ain. So now only meeting, how we got R equal to minus 0.5?
Moderate negative correlation.
Okay. So moderate negative correlation. So our R value between plus minus and plus minus 1, then we can interpret whether it's positive or negative. Then another one we can interpret whether no correlation, positive correlation or negative correlation in terms of weak, strong or moderate. Any questions so far? Ada soalan? Ada persoalan? Boleh saya tanya Siti Nurul Fasihah, faham ke? Siti Nurul Fasihah?
Ya, doktor.
Faham ke?
Faham. Sorry, doktor. Hujan tak dengar.
Okay. Okay, next slide. We to identify how we calculate the R value. Okay. Now, how to calculate R value? We use this formula. Small r equal to sum of x minus x bar times y minus y bar divided by n minus 1. Standard division of group X and standard deviation of group Y. Okay, so we need to find out the R value from this data. So we have 10%, then we have data of number call and number of sold. And we develop the scatter diagram. From the scatter diagram, we develop X bar equal to 22 and Y bar equal to 45. Boleh saya minta seorang Ifang ini?
Ya, Doktor.
Ifang ini, you ada calculator tak?
Ada.
Cuba try this group. Dulu cari dia punya mean, X bar and standard deviation. Okey, lagi satu group. Boleh minta Nurul Najwa dah, Nurul Najwa. Nurul Najwa dah. Okey, kita pergi ke Ahmad Nasharuddin. Then Muhammad Arif.
Ya, Doktor.
Okey, cuba this group. Group ni you cari dia punya mean.
Okey.
Y bar and the standard deviation. Dus siapa yang tadi dah dapat tolong key in data dekat chat. So, siapa-siapa nak try pun boleh juga untuk find out the X bar and standard deviation.
Yang X bar tu 22.
So tulis dekat chat, write down the chat. So, ada siapa dapat X equal 22, X bar remains SD, standard deviation is 9.189. So we move to group data of Y. Muhammad Arif dah dapat? Sudah dapat Sudah dapat kat situ. Standard deviation 14.27, mean 45. Sudah dapat? Okay. So I think everybody understood how to find out the mean and standard deviation. Then from this result, we utilize the standard deviation to find out the R value. R value here. So okay, then we have two data, Y and X. Okay, at the end, we got the data sum of X minus X bar, Y minus Y bar is 900. 900 here. So put 900 here. Okay, then N minus 1, we have 10 data, 10 minus 1. Just now we calculate, we shared in our chat where the SX we get standard deviation of group X we get 9.189. Of the group Y we get 14.327. Then value of R we get 0.759. Okay, that means we get R equal to plus 0.759. You tengok dekat sini dia menyatakan dia depan dia tak ada plus tetapi actual dia have the plus here. Dia indicate the plus. So this result indicate is what? So boleh tanya Wong Kong Wei.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, this result indicate what? They mean R value, they have two meaning.
Positive.
Okay, positive, that mean positive relationship. Okay. Then this one, indicate what? .75.
Five.
0.75, I think around this here.
Strong positive correctly.
Strong positive correlation. So what we get from this result, we can say the relationship are positive and the strong correlation. Okay, that means dia you tengok dia punya result kat sini. Wong cuba baca ya Wong.
First, it is positive. So we see that it's a direct relationship between the number of sales call and the number of copiers sold. The value of 0.759 is very close to 1. So we conclude that the association is strong.
Okay. Now cuba baca yang bawah pula.
However, does this mean that more sales cause more sales? No, we have not demonstrated cause and effect here. Only that the two variables, sales call and copiers sold, are related.
Okay. So that means whether they have cause or not. Adakah menyebab number of call and copy of sold? So the answer is no. Because two variable whether related or not by cause. Kita nak lihat they have relationship only. So how about the cause? So we use another method. Okay, the cause on the method we call significant, test of significance of our coefficient of correlation of small r. Okay. Just now we get the result. Okay, this result only indicate the relationship. It's not only a relationship. So we want to know whether it's real cause or not. So we do the significant test. Okay. In significant test, we develop T0, we call T equal to 0. Then another one we call which one T not equal to 0. This one we want to say this one no correlation. We want to say A0 equal to no correlation. I call no and C school, huh? So H1 H1 it means they have correlation. Okay. So we develop this hypothesis. We say A0 no correlation, H1 is correlation. So we're using this decision rule. We reject S0 if T more or less than T alpha divided by 2 n minus 2. So sekarang saya nak tanya Yohanes Imani. Hello Yohanes. Yohanes ada? Nur Fadilah? Sorry, Nur Fadilah ada?
Yes.
Okay, Nur Fadilah.
Ya.
Dekat slide 09 ni, dia bagi tahu using this formula. T formula, T test. Why T test? So we have the Z and Tn. Why they use T?
Less than 30. And you?
Good. Okay, good. Betul Because our respondent only 10%. Ada 10 orang, that's why kita use T. Okay, that's why here they use the T test. Okay, okay, thank you. Now, for the T, we use this formula. T equal to R square root n minus 2 divided by square root 1 minus R followed by 2. To identify what is a T value. Okay. Then the next step, here, just now I say, the A0 is no correlation. Then H1 we say have the correlation. So we're using the T. Okay, we reject A0 if the T more or less than T alpha divided by 2 n minus 2. So given alpha is 0.05, okay, in the T distribution table, this one we get from the value of T distribution table. Okay, we get 2.306. Ini kena tengok dekat T distribution table. Okay, dekat T distribution table, you can look the alpha 0.025 and degree of freedom 8. Okay, then we have the critical value here, plus minus the value. So the next step, we need to calculate the T value. So using the formula, T equal to R, just now we get R 0.59 square root 10 delta minus 2 and square root 1 minus 0.759 power by 2. Then we get the T value 3.297. That means somewhere in this area. Somewhere in this area. So what is the decision? Boleh kita tanya Nur Sufi Najwa?
Saya, Doktor.
Okay, what is decision?
Reject HO.
So why reject as 0?
Because 3.297
Is more than 2.306.
ah
Okay, that's why we reject the A0. Then A0, they say that they are correlation. They mean from the relationship between copy of soul and call show that they have correlation. Okay, because we get the equation 3.2 is more than 2.306 or our critical value. That means in case we have increased our call, then of course they will increase your copy state. This one shown in our significance of correlation coefficient. Okay, so far, faham? Any question?
Faham.
Okay, Suki kata faham. How about the Lian Weili? Lian,
Yes, doctor.
faham ke?
Faham.
Okay, good. So I move to the next slide. Now we learn about regression analysis. This one, the second topic, regression analysis. So boleh saya minta Cheng Ming,
Yes, doctor.
boleh tolong baca slide 12, slide 12.
Boleh. Regression analysis. In regression analysis, we use the independent variable x to estimate the dependent variable y. The relationship between the variables is linear. Both variables must be at least interval scale. The least square criterion is used to determine the equation.
Okay.
Regression equation, an equation that expresses the linear relationship between two variables. Least square principle, determining a regression equation by minimizing
The sum.
minimizing the sum of the square of the vertical distance between the actual y values and the predicted values of y.
Okay, thank you. That means here we learn about two variables. One they call y. Y represent the dependent variable, and x represent the independent variable. Okay. So we want to know the relationship. Is linear or not? Okay. Number two, variable should be interval scale. Why in our research we use the Likert scale 1 to 5. Kan kita akan guna, so saya pun recommended kita akan pakai Likert scale 1 to 5 because this issue. Because we need to do regression and this should be interval scale. Okay. Then least square criterion, that means they have the model fit to determine the equation. So the equation should be regression equation, then using the least square principle to determine y and x value. If we see the example, this one they call the linear regression model. So this one linear regression model. Okay, the mean y hat equal to a plus b. So this one is our IV. Our IV. This one our DD. They mean A here, A is y-intercept. B means slope. Slope. Saya rasa dekat sekolah dulu kita pernah belajar y equal to MC plus X cube. Ada tak formula ni? Saya boleh tanya Nek Ikram. Oh, YMX plus C ya. Sorry ya. Tidak. Thank you, Lim. Okay, next we learn how to get the B value, then how to get the A value. This one is come from Y hat equal to A plus B. So A, this formula come to here, and the B, sorry, kebalik. So A is here, and B is here. So B equal to R, standard deviation of group Y divided by standard deviation of group X. So A, then equal to Y bar minus BX. Okay. This one step number 1, this one step number 2. Because after we get the value of B here, so we just put in the B to find out the A value. Okay. The next step, we see the example. So example here boleh saya minta Nurul Huda Hanani.
Ya, Doktor.
Boleh tolong baca slide 15.
Boleh. Recall the example involving copier sales of America. The sales manager gather information on the number of sales calls made and the number of copiers sold for a random sample of 10 sales representatives. Use the least square method to determine a linear equation to express the relationship between the two variables. What is the expected number of copies sold by a representative who made 20 calls?
Okay, thank you. So now we have this data. This data, we want to develop the Y at equal to A plus B. Okay, we want to develop this equation. Equal to this equation. So second thing, we use this equation to determine how the model look like in case we do the 20 call. That means x equal to 20. So what the y value. Then we do the first step. Step number 1, we need to identify the b value. Okay, b value using this formula r sy divided by sx. Just now we calculate the r value 0.759. From the data, we have the r value 0.79. Then standard deviation of the y 14.37 divided by standard deviation of 2 root 2 with x 9.1. So we get b value equal to 1.18. Okay, Okay, cuba saya nak minta kita try the calculator. Lu, you think? Lu? Hello, Lu? Hello, Lu? Lu, you think?
Yeah,
You ada calculator?
ada.
Try this one, 14.377 divided by 1.989 times 0.759. Will we get the value? You get 1.1842?
Yes.
Get, already get, So this value 1.1842, we fill in this formula. Okay. A equal to y bar minus bx. So y bar just now we get 45, b 1.1842, and x bar is 32. So lu cuba gunakan kalkulator dapat tak 18.94? Already get?
Dapat.
Dapat, cuba try lagi sekali. 45 minus 1.18 times 32.
L.
Okay, then we get the answer 18.94. Okay, now we already have the B value and the A value. Okay, thank you, Lou. Okay, now we have this formula. Y equal A plus BX. Then we just fill in the A value, 18.94. Just now we get the result from here. Then the B value, 1.182. So this one we get from where? We get from here. X. Okay, just now we asking the question here. What the Y value in case X equal 20? Okay. Then we using fill up X equal 20 here. So we will get the Y equal to 42.63. That means in case we do 20 time of call, we will have the soul about the 42.63. Okay, that's on how the equation model tell to us in case we do the 20 call. Okay, So how about we do the 25 calls? So Candy, hello Candy.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, using the same equation, okay, what happened when we do the 25 calls? So what is y value? You calculate, Candy.
Okay.
What is y value? 25 call, huh?
48.55.
So 48.55, huh? So we get 48.5. Huh? You mean in case we do 25 calls, our soul should be 48.5 and so on. Huh? So they call this model. Okay, thank you, Candy. Is understood? Any question? Ada soalan? Ada soalan?
No.
Okay, kat mana soalan?
So nak tanya apa boleh tak ulang yang Y tu? Kita tak faham yang Y.
Y slide nombor berapa?
Tak ni Y sama dengan 48.5.
Y 48. Ah, so this one kita guna formula yang sama. So kita using this formula. I did it. Nuran, you ada calculator?
Ada sir.
Cuba you try this formula. Tetapi nilai X kat sini bukan lagi 20. You pakai nilai X kat sini equal to 25. Berapa you dapat?
Oh. Okey, jap. Okey, saya dapat 48.5526.
That's why we get 48.5.
Ya.
That means
Okey, sir.
using this formula, we can predict the y value in case we have the x value. Okay, in case we say x equal 20, y equal 42.6. X equal 25, y equal to 48 and 5 and so on. Okay, siapa lagi masih confused? Okay ke? Any question? So I move to the next. Okay, the next slide. We want to calculate the standard error or estimate. The standard error or estimate. How to calculate? So they have given to us two formulas. Whether we can use formula number 1 or we can use formula number 2. Okay. Up to us how we want to use the formula. Because standard error estimate is measure the scatter or dispersion that observes value around the line of regression. So they want to measure the scatter. So using the formula. Okay. Dulu last time this one came up in the exam. So you need to remember all this formula lah. Okay? But this semester you are very lucky. No exam, but your individual assignment is very tough. So the high mark is there, 40%. So it's quite challenge for you in another way. Okay, now based on the data as previous, so we have developed we have this model y equal to 18.94 plus 1.8x. So we key in all the x from number 1 until 10. So we get the y value here, y hat. Okay. Then we want to see different y and y hat at this column. Then y minus y hat power by 2, sum of that, we get this value, 784.211. So we just key in this data to here, then we get the standard error is 9.901. Okay. So what is indicate this value? Macam mana kita nak interpret this value? Okay. Boleh saya tanya John?
Yes, Doctor.
So John, how we interpret this value?
Yang mana?
This one, 9.901.
Sub the value into the formula.
Because why? This one is indicate the standard error. This value indicate the standard error. So this one meaning what? Example, I give to you these two value. I give you standard error here is 9.9. Then another group, example, we measure our standard value, standard error, we get about the 100. Okay, standard error, we get two value, one 9.9, one is 100. Which one better? Yang mana bagus?
9.9.
Why 9.9 is bagus?
Different dia lebih rendah.
Satu different lebih rendah. Satu lagi, more smallest is better. Lagi kecil lagi bagus. Okay, standard error lagi kecil lagi bagus. Sebab kita nak dapat dia punya variation tu kecil lagi bagus. Tetapi kita tak akan dapat zero. Because in statistic, no zero. But in case we got the small value of standard error, is good. The highest one is not good lah. Because dia punya scatter dia lebih besar. Okay, thank you, Josh. Okay, the next, we learn about coefficient of determination. So they call R square. R power by 2 equal to coefficient of determination. This one, what is this? This is a proportion of total variation in the dependent variable y that is explained or counted by the variation in the independent variable x. This one they call square of the R value. Okay. The range should be 0 to 1. Dia takkan lebih. Kalau you dapat 2 point something, 3 point something, that means something wrong. Okay. However, this one don't give any information of the duration between two variables. Okay. Dia tak inform this one duration. Cuma dia inform about the accounted for sahaja. Direction we measure by small r. This is small r, they call coefficient of correlation. Sahaja, the y r power by 2 square of coefficient is 1 determined of accounted for sahaja. Okay, we see the example. Okay, just now we get the small r equal to 0.759. Okay, boleh saya minta Mas Sarah?
Yes, saya.
Okay, R equal 7.9, kuasa 2 dapat equal berapa? Cuba ada calculator, try.
0.576.
Okay, you can get 0.576. So 5.76 represent what? Belum baca yang ni?
Yang bawah ni.
Ha,
This is a proportion or a percent. We can say that 57.6% of the variation in the number of copies so is explained or accounted for by the variation in the number of sales costs.
okay, thank you. Itu dia punya definition, definition of this one. So we can say 57.6% of the ration number of copies sold is explained or accounted by variation of number sale cost. Macam mana kita interpret this value? Sama ada the strength ataupun sebagainya tak boleh interpret. Itu cuma interpret, cuma boleh interpret of small r saja. Whether they have good strength or not, only this value only. Boleh faham what difference between coefficient of determination and coefficient of correlation? Boleh? Then kita now kita compute the Y model. So using the basic formula given, 18.94 plus 1.18x. So just now we put in the x value here, 20, 40, 20, 30, and 10, and so on until 10 of the representative. Then we get the y value here and here. Okay. That means we have the y model fit, model regression. From this model regression, we try develop the line. So here they give example how we get 54. Maybe using this formula, the x value equal to 30 here. We just fill in the 30 here, then we get 54.47. So the answer is here. Okay. Then we do the line regression. The line regression here. So based on this point, x equal 20, we get y equal 42. Then the one here is x equal 40, y equal 66.31. So we fit this line, we becoming like this. Okay, this one they call estimated. Then we plot within the sale call and copy sold. So similarly, without the formula, we can estimate here. Okay, so we estimate here. We say we make 10 calls. So 10 is here about the probably 30 something. The copy sold. We estimate 30 here. 30 of call. Then probably is about the 50 of copy sold and so on. So we can predict the copy sold. Boleh saya stop dekat sini slide number 23. Boleh saya
Boleh
stop kat sini?
boleh.
Slide 23. Siapa yang belum scan, scan here. Yup. Okay. Ya, betul. Ya, kena ada relationship. That's why kita kena measure small r tu tadi. What does pengurusan stres dengan apa? Dia kena ada IV ya. IV dia adalah pengurusan stres. Outcome dia apa dia? Hasil dia apa? Itu IV. DV dia outcome dia. Bila you manage dia dengan stres, dia punya hasil dia apa dia? Kesan dia. Hasil dia. Outcome dia. Boleh. Yes, betul. Daripada survey, data daripada survey itu kita guna SPSS dan kita akan run the program dia, kita akan dapat small r tu. Bukan. Small r ni you akan dapat yang kita belajar tadi lah. How to calculate using the formula. Okay, saya nak confirm lagi attendance sekali lagi. Najwa ada, Nurul Najwa.